What if the next great extinction isn't a cataclysmic event from the distant past, marked by dinosaurs and meteors? What if it's happening right now, quietly, all around us? What if it's us and the crisis we choose to ignore? This isn't a story of a single dramatic impact. It's a story of a million small cuts, a slow unraveling of the very fabric of life on Earth. All across our planet, species are vanishing. Not at the slow, steady pace of natural background extinction, but at a rate hundreds, perhaps thousands of times faster. Faster than nature can possibly replace them. This isn't a future prediction. It's a present-day reality, driven by a handful of powerful forces that are fundamentally reshaping our world. The pressures are mounting, stacking up like dominoes, each one pushing the next toward a precipice. It starts with habitat loss. This is the single greatest driver of extinction. Every minute, we lose an area of forest equivalent to dozens of football fields, cleared for agriculture, logging, and urban expansion. We drain wetlands, dam rivers, and carve up vast wildernesses with roads and infrastructure. For countless species, this means their homes, their sources of food, and their breeding grounds simply cease to exist. What remains are isolated fragments, islands of nature in a human-dominated sea, too small and disconnected to support viable populations for long. Then there is climate chaos. Our warming planet is creating conditions that many species cannot survive. As temperatures rise, ecosystems are thrown into disarray. In the oceans, acidifying waters dissolve the shells of vital marine life, while warming seas cause catastrophic coral bleaching events, turning vibrant underwater cities into ghostly white graveyards. On land, animals and plants are forced to migrate toward the poles or to higher altitudes to find suitable climates, but many can't move fast enough, or they run out of places to go. Extreme weather events, more intense hurricanes, prolonged droughts, and devastating wildfires are becoming the new normal, pushing already stressed ecosystems past their breaking point. Compounding this is the threat of invasive species. In our interconnected world, plants, animals, and pathogens are transported around the globe at an unprecedented rate, either intentionally or by accident. When introduced to new environments where they have no natural predators, they can wreak havoc. They outcompete native wildlife for resources, introduce diseases, and fundamentally alter entire ecosystems. From zebra mussels clogging waterways in North America to cane toads poisoning predators in Australia, these biological invaders are a leading cause of extinction, especially on isolated islands where native species have evolved without defenses. And everywhere, there is pollution. Our lands, rivers, and oceans have become sinks for the byproducts of our industrial society. Plastic waste chokes marine life, breaking down into microplastics that infiltrate every level of the food chain, from the smallest plankton to the whales, and even us. Chemical pollutants from agriculture and industry run off into waterways, creating vast, dead zones where nothing can live. This constant chemical and physical contamination weakens immune systems, disrupts reproduction, and makes habitats toxic. Finally, there is direct overexploitation. We are simply taking too much, too fast. Our oceans have been systematically overfished, with nearly a third of global fish stocks harvested at unsustainable levels. On land, the illegal wildlife trade, a multi-billion-dollar criminal enterprise, drives iconic species like elephants, rhinos, and tigers toward extinction for their parts. This relentless pressure to hunt, fish, and harvest, beyond nature's capacity to replenish, is emptying our forests and seas. These aren't just anecdotes. The scientific evidence is overwhelming and deeply concerning. Organizations like the International Union for Conservation of Nature, or IUCN, maintain the Red List of Threatened Species, the world's most comprehensive inventory of the global conservation status of life on Earth. Today, it shows more than 40,000 species are threatened with extinction. That's over a quarter of all assessed species. A landmark 2019 report from the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, or IPAS, delivered a stark warning. Compiled by hundreds of experts from 50 countries, it concluded that around 1 million animal and plant species are now threatened with extinction, many within decades. The report confirmed that we are eroding the very foundations of our economies, livelihoods, food security, health, and quality of life worldwide. Scientists speak of ecological tipping points, thresholds beyond which an ecosystem can shift abruptly and irreversibly into a new state. We are pushing countless systems from the Amazon rainforest to Arctic sea ice, dangerously close to these points of no return. Why does this matter to us? Because we are not separate from nature. We are intrinsically part of it. The loss of biodiversity is not just a tragedy for the animals and plants themselves. It is a direct threat to human well-being. Think of the pollinators, the bees, butterflies, and birds that are responsible for 1/3 of the world's food production. As their populations decline, our food security is jeopardized. Healthy ecosystems provide essential services we take for granted: forests that purify our air and water, wetlands that protect our coasts from storms, and a stable climate regulated by a living planet. The collapse of these systems carries enormous economic costs and threatens the livelihoods of billions of people who depend directly on nature for food, water, and income. For indigenous communities, the loss of biodiversity also means the loss of culture, identity, and generations of traditional knowledge. The diagnosis is grim. The dominoes are falling. Scientists warn we could be in the midst of the Earth's 6th mass extinction, the first one caused by a single species. Us. But a diagnosis is not a death sentence. The same science that sounds the alarm also illuminates the path forward. We have the knowledge, the tools, and the capacity to change course. The shock of this moment must give way to resolve. We must act, and we must act now. The solution begins with a fundamental shift in our relationship with the natural world. It requires action on every level, from global agreements to individual choices. First, we must protect what's left. We need to rapidly expand the global network of protected areas on land and in the sea, creating safe havens where nature can thrive. The 30 by 30 initiative, a global goal to protect 30% of the planet's land and oceans by 2030, is a critical step. But these areas must be more than lines on a map. They need to be effectively managed, properly funded, and equitably governed with the full participation of indigenous peoples and local communities. We must cut emissions. Tackling the climate crisis is inseparable from tackling the biodiversity crisis. Every fraction of a degree of warming we avoid saves species and ecosystems. This means a rapid transition away from fossil fuels to clean, renewable energy sources like solar and wind. It means transforming our energy, transport, and industrial systems to operate within planetary boundaries. We have to stop single-use plastics and redesign our economy to be circular. This means reducing our consumption, reusing what we can, and designing products so that their materials can be safely returned to nature or industry. We must turn off the tap of plastic pollution at its source, not just clean it up from our beaches. We must fund conservation that actually reaches the ground. This means empowering local communities and grassroots organizations who are the frontline stewards of biodiversity. It means investing in habitat restoration, replanting forests, reviving wetlands, and cleaning up rivers. Projects around the world show that when given a chance, nature is remarkably resilient, and we need to support policy that protects ecosystems and pressure companies to clean up their act. Governments must enact and enforce strong environmental laws, end harmful subsidies that encourage destruction, and hold polluters accountable. Corporations, in turn, must be transparent about their environmental impact and transform their supply chains to be sustainable and deforestation-free. The financial sector has a huge role to play by shifting investments away from destructive industries and toward nature-positive solutions. Faced with a crisis of this magnitude, it's easy to feel powerless, but individual actions matter. They create a ripple effect that builds into a wave of change. Small choices, when made by millions, scale up to have a massive impact. Think about what you buy. Choose products from companies committed to sustainability. Reduce your consumption of meat and dairy, as animal agriculture is a major driver of habitat loss. In your own backyard or community, plant native species to provide food and shelter for local wildlife. Avoid using pesticides and herbicides. Use your voice. Talk to your friends and family about these issues. Support and vote for leaders who prioritize environmental protection. Join local conservation groups, participate in citizen science projects, or volunteer for a habitat restoration day. Every action, no matter how small it seems, contributes to a culture of stewardship. It sends a powerful signal to businesses and policymakers that we demand a different future. It's not too late, but the clock is real. The window of opportunity to secure a livable and sustainable future for all is closing rapidly. We are the first generation to have a clear picture of the value of nature and the immense impact we are having on it. We may also be the last with a chance to reverse the trend. This is our moment of decision. We can be the generation that stood by and watched the world's living treasures disappear, or we can be the one that chose to act with courage and foresight. The one that chose to heal our planet. Ready to help turn back time?